Hello, this is Christian. In this video, I'm going to do a demonstration on using WebSocket, an application we can build in Node.js. So before we start, I want to make sure that you are able to have a tool to build this application. Now, in the book, it asks you to use Visual Studio, the environment, which is completely fine. It's a robust IDE, but for building Node application, you don't really need that big of application. So if you have issues with that program, you can run and use a lighter version of a code editor such as Bracket, Atom, or one of the most popular IDEs right now is Visual Studio Code. Now this is not Visual Studio, it's part of it, but it's a Studio Code. So if you want to go ahead and download that, if you just search for it on the website, on Google for Visual Studio Code, you should get this link here. Go here and just download to your system. So it runs on all systems, okay, Mac, Windows, and Linux, and so forth. So that way, for those of you who have issues with the Mac because you couldn't run Visual Studio, I recommend just install this one. Okay, so most of the work will be done using just a plain simple code editor. Okay, so now back in the code, I'm gonna go and then so once you install and run Visual Studio Code, you come to a page like this. You might have the welcome page. I don't have it here, but this is a startup page. Anyway, you can close that startup page, and on the left side, we're going to add a folder. Okay, there are a couple ways to do this. You can do from the command line, or you can drag, like go to a folder and drag and drop it here, or you can go and click Add Folder here. If you don't see this, you can go to the File and add a folder to the workspace. Okay, so I'm going to go Add Folder, and I'm going to go to my Documents, my Gateway, and I'm going to create a new folder here. We'll just call it Node.js. Okay, this is like, well, I shouldn't just say that. I should say like my chat program. This is the name of that folder itself. So go ahead and select that, add, and now we have environment to directory to work off of. So I'm going to start from scratch. Okay, and we'll build this usually using just a command line. I'm not going to go do any drag and drop in here. So I'll show you how to do that. This is the very trendy, common way now for most developers by using this simple method here. I mean, I wouldn't say simple, but I guess kind of bring you back to the 80s and 90s when we used a lot of command lines, Unix stuff. Okay, so in this environment here, as you see on the right side, it's a couple of shortcuts here. I'm interested in the one that says toggle the terminal here. So if you press the Control plus the back tick, you can get the terminal like that. And let me turn this off. Okay, or you can go to the view and click here, toggle terminal, right here as well. Okay, either one. So from here, if you're in this My Chat, notice that I'm not in there yet. Usually it should take you right into the My Chat folder. If it's not, just make sure you're in the right folder. So let me go back out to that folder. Let me see. Easiest way is, let's see if it's in here. Okay, Documents, Gateway. I think it's called My Chat. Okay, so I'm in here. It's blank, as you can see. There's nothing there. And let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, and CLS is to clear your screen. You can have multiple command terminal. Here is just one. Mine is using PowerShell. Yours might be a CMD or another terminal type, but you can switch this around. You can do this in settings if you want to. And you can add another one if you want, like two command terminals. The reason why is because when you run your application, when you run it, the server is running, then you don't want to cancel that while it's running, and you can switch back and forth between the two terminals at the same directory, so you can do some work there. But I'll just leave it at the terminal 1 for now. Okay, so as you can see, nothing here. We're going to go and create a JSON package. Package.json file. Now every Node application must have one. This is the metadata file that's required for it to work. It's the file that tells everything about your package or your application. Okay, so to do that, it's just basically you just go npm init. Okay, if you don't have npm install or if you don't have node install, you want to make sure you install that first. Okay, so it's going to ask me for the name of the package, and the default is what I have here, so I'll just leave that as blank. Now it has to be a single string of characters, so you can have white spaces and so on. So usually the preferred convention is all lowercase. Okay, as you can see, if I put like my chat, it's not going to let me. Okay, it has to be all in lowercase and usually in a single string of text. So I'll keep it that. You can call it my chat like that. That's fine, right? I can change it to that. Version default 1, description, you know, a simple chat program. And you can change these later on too. You can leave it all blank and just change later. It doesn't matter. The entry point index, you can leave it that, or I'm going to use the app.js test. You can leave that blank. Default keywords. This is used for if you want to push this out to a public repository like your Git account, and then people can search for the keywords and find your application and use it. So if you want to do that, that's what the keywords are for. Author is you, so I'll put my name here, and then license, you'll keep the ISC default, and then let's say yes, and we're done. Okay, now a package JSON has added. You click on it, you'll see the default settings here. So here you can go and change if you want, okay, how you want it. So okay, so the next thing is we're going to add the packages. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so the book asks you to manually go in here and create your dependencies, right? You go here and you go dependencies like that. Okay, I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to let the package manager do it for us. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to leave that open so you can see that it will actually change the files here for us live. So back in the terminal down here, okay, let me clear this. So to add or to install a package, you just basically go npm install and then the name of the package. So in this case, we're going to install the Express package. So just type in Express, and if you know the exact version you want to install, you can put the @ symbol here and the version number, whatever it is, right? If it exists. If you don't know what version it is, you just leave it blank and it will grab the latest version, automatically install it for you. So I'm going to leave it that. Now you can also install another package just by putting a space and then keep adding packages here all in one line. If you don't do that, you can do it separately. You can do install Express first, let it run, and then you do another line npm install the next package. Okay, so if you know what you want, you can do all at once here. So I'm going to install both of them, the Express and the socket.io. So both of those. Again, I'll leave it so you'll pull the latest version for me. Now lastly but not least is a special flag called --save. Okay, or the shortcut is just -s if you know by heart, but usually you put that -save so it's easier to see. What that means is that once it's installed the package in the node module, it's going to add the Express and the socket information into this package.json file. So in other words, these are dependencies, right? So it's going to go in here, modify this file, and add the dependencies for us automatically. And I'll show you here, like if you look up in the window here, you will see this change once it's done. Okay, so make sure you do that. If you don't do it, it's not going to modify your JSON file, and you have to do that every time. Okay, so save and hit enter, and it should install. So depending on how fast your machine is or your connection is, it might take a while. Mine is a little old machine, so it could take a little while, but we'll see how long it's going to take. Usually it should be quick. So okay, yeah, that's not that bad. All right, so it adds 84 packages for the Express. Notice here the latest version is 4.16.4. Socket.io is 2.2.0. So up here again, if you notice, it adds these two dependencies for us automatically. Okay, so if you keep adding more packages, it's going to go and modify this file for you automatically. Now, the reason why you have this package.json is for distribution purposes. Okay, so when you distribute this file, or when you have people download this from your repository, You don't want people to download this huge node modules folder. Okay, because this one here, if you expand this one, you see that has tons of packages. Okay, and this will grow. As you add more packages, if you build your application, you're going to import a lot of modules, and this will grow heavily, and it can go up into the hundreds of megs and gigs. So, and then imagine you pass it out to the user, right? That's not how you do it anymore. And so what you do instead is you include this package.json, and in here, the npm or yarn or whichever package manager you're using will look into this package.json file and go ahead and install all the necessary packages that it needs into the node modules automatically to that system. So you don't have to include that in your distribution. So this is the heart of Node.js, right? So that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's why I ask you to do the -- save to make sure it's a part inside the package.json. If you don't include that here, then when you install it on a different machine, you have to reinstall Express again because you may forget, right? So, okay, so now we got that taken care of. We can leave this out, close that, and then now, again, if you happen to open all these modules, because the node is pretty big, so sometimes you might accidentally do that, and just be very careful where you put your files because it's a huge folder. So if it's too long, you can't scroll up there too fast enough, just click on this icon here. Right here it says collapse all. If you do that, it will collapse all those folders, and you can open it again, and the node is now collapsed. Okay, so I'm going to create a folder right in here. Just make sure when you click, because it's very tricky. In here, I'm going to create a folder, and we're going to call this public folder. Kind of similar to I guess it's a standard way of doing things. And this folder is where it will house all my HTML and files in here, okay? And then in the root directory right here under my chat is where I'm going to have the app.js file, okay? Now you will see that some frameworks will have a different directory called src to store all the source code, okay? So for now, we're going to just create another file here. It is a JS file, app.js. And this is the one that we specified in the package here, right? The main entry point is through app.js. That's what he's saying. Okay, so usually when we have a program, we run it, it's going to look in that package and it look at the main file, and that's the entry point. And it's very true if you look into Angular, React, or Vue.js, or Ember, Knockout, all those applications, it has something similar. Okay, so in this file, then we're going to import the Express and the HTTP and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Now the book does it a little bit differently. I mean, either way is completely fine. You know, there's no right or wrong way. It just depends on which is shorter, which is longer, however you do it. Okay, so the book, I'll do the book way first, and I'll show you how to do it a different way. So you can say var. You can use var if you want, but it's very common to put this as constant because usually you will never change them again, right? You don't change the content, the data. So say express is equal to the, you're going to require the express package, okay? And then you can do a next line and constant. The app is going to be you create a express application. This is what it means, okay? You instantiate an object of the express. And then you can do all this in one line if you want. You see that the book might do something like this. Put a comma here, okay? Because it's all one line declaration. But usually if you do this way, it's much easier to see. So again, depends. Then you have the HTTP. You have to require that one there as well. Require HTTP module. Okay, and then you will have, I have my typo here. You have a server, and this server is going to be the HTTP server. So basically, this is where you set the server, right? And when you create the server this way, just call one of the functions and going to pass to it the HTTP. I mean the Express application. So you can put app here if you want, or you can do like Express, right? Express. I mean, why would you do that if you already have the variable? Okay, so you pass that to the server. Now that's been created. Okay, and then finally, since we install the I/O to help us build this socket, you're gonna have another one, another variable called I/O. I'll just call it I/O, commonly call I/O. It's gonna require the socket.io, and this is kind of weird because you use the .io as part of the name, and the actual file will be .js, but you have that included. And then you can go ahead and just say listen, call the listen method, listen to the server that you created. Okay, so that's that, and now it's create a server, done. Okay, and then all you have to do is now you can go ahead and then request the HTTP to listen to that server to see if it's there, right? So listen to a port number basically. So you can say, okay, HTTP listen to port number 3000, and has calls a callback function, and here is where we'll put the console message. So that we know, okay, listening to port, and then you put 3000 here. Okay, and you can also put another message saying like console log, go to HTTP localhost port 3000. So I mean, just to give you an idea. Okay, so save that, Control S to save it, go down here to your command terminal and type in node app.js, and if it works, it should work. If it's not, there's an error, you're gonna fix it. So I have a problem here. I probably didn't have to do what I say. HTTP listen. HTTP. Okay. Well, yeah, it's not HTTP. I think it should be the server, because HTTP is not the one I actually assigned to creating the server. It's the server variable that is creating the server. Now it's so we need to say not HTTP, but I think it's server instead of HTTP. Okay, so let's save this again and go back to the terminal. Let me clear this and then try again. See if it works. Okay, so we got the message here, and again, you can click this if you want. It should take you to the browser, which is why you put that there. And I think, let me see if I can get that over to my screen. So I'm gonna put 3000. And there it is, right? It's working. It's nothing there because we didn't put any messages there. Just to show that it actually is working. Okay, otherwise you will get something like this. Okay, you would say not found. Okay, that means there's no server. So since server 3000 is working, then that's working fine. Now I'm gonna collapse this and make it small, and I'll leave it here so that we'll have a quick access to this file. Okay, now, so that's working, and then now we need to get the request from the server, from the site, and then we'll also then process some data and send it back to the server. In the next video, I'll do that, okay?